All right, let's just say it, touch is powerful. And no, I'm not just talking about the obvious come here big guy kind of touch. I'm talking about the kind of touch that lingers, the kind that makes a man stop in the middle of his day, close his eyes and think, God, I miss her hands. See, we underestimate this all the time. We get caught up in texting, flirting, sending the right things, sending the right emoji combo, like somehow the eggplant and fire emoji will seal the emotional deal. But here's the truth no one tells you. When a man remembers you, he doesn't just remember your words. He remembers how you felt. He remembers the warmth of your hand on his neck when he was opening up. He remembers that playful little squeeze on his thigh when you made fun of him for losing at Mario Kart. He remembers how your fingers felt in his hair when you kissed him. Not because it was sexy, though, let's be real, it was. But because it made him feel wanted, safe, seen. Touch is how we leave fingerprints on someone's heart without saying a word. And the wildest part, half the time, we don't even realize we're doing it. Now, I know some people will say, but Matthew, isn't this just biology? And yes, sure, it is. But it's also psychology and chemistry and timing and connection and a whole bunch of other magic that science still can't quite explain. What I can explain though is this: when used right, your touch becomes unforgettable, not because it's perfect, not because it's sensual 24/7, but because it's intentional. So in today's speech, we're diving into 5 ways your touch can make a man crave you even when you're not around. These are the moves that go beyond flirting, beyond attraction. These are the kind of touches that create emotional imprints he can't shake, no matter how hard he tried. And by the end of this video, he won't just be thinking about you, he'll be wondering how he ever lived without the feeling of you. Ooh, and before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below if you've ever had a man come crawling back just because he missed your energy. We know what that means. Now, let's get into it. The anchor touch, build a memory through repetition. Let me tell you something about human behavior that's absolutely fascinating and kind of hilarious when you realize how powerful it is. We are creatures of association. You know how a song can come on and instantly take you back to a summer in 2016, or how a smell can remind you of your grandma's cooking? That's your brain forming an anchor. It latches onto a moment, pairs it with a sensation, and every time that sensation is repeated, it brings the memory rushing back. Now apply that same principle to your touch. See, what most people don't realize is that physical touch can work exactly the same way. But it's not just about being affectionate or sensual. It's about building an emotional loop that anchors you in a man's mind, so that even when you're not there, some part of him still feels you. Literally, let's say every time you two have a moment, you're laughing at something stupid, he's opening up to you about something deep. Or you're both watching a movie and there's that beautiful silence. You gently place your hand on the same spot. Maybe it's the side of his neck. Maybe it's a subtle brush along his forearm. Maybe it's just a slow, intentional tracing of your fingers along his shoulder. It's not invasive, it's not over the top, but it's consistent. Every time something real is happening, you anchor it with that same touch. What happens over time is amazing. His brain starts to associate you with comfort, connection, and intimacy. It doesn't even have to be sexual. It just has to be meaningful. And because you're consistently pairing that meaning with a very specific, repeated gesture, you become the emotional equivalent of his favorite song. All it takes is one tiny reminder, and boom, there you are, in his mind, in his memory, on his skin. Now, I want to be super clear here. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating a connection that deepens through consistency. You're building emotional gravity so that even when you're not around, something pulls him back. And it's not because you're flooding him with messages or selfies. It's because his body remembers you before his mind even does. And the best part, he usually doesn't even realize it. That's the magic of it. It's subtle. It's under the radar. He's going about his day, maybe feeling a little off or a little nostalgic, and then he realizes he misses you, but he can't quite put his finger on why. All he knows is that there's this feeling he associates with you, this emotional echo, and he wants to feel it again. I remember coaching someone once who had this incredible ability to do just this without even realizing it. Every time her boyfriend would say something vulnerable, she would run her fingers through the back of his hair. It wasn't conscious, she was just being affectionate. But after they broke up, months later, he reached out to her and said, I don't know what it is, but I haven't been able to get the feeling of your hand on my head out of my mind. That was her anchor. And he felt it long after she left the room. This is also why confidence is so important, because when you own your touch, when you do it with intention, not hesitation, it leaves a much deeper mark. You're not asking for permission with your energy. You're saying, this is how I love. This is how I connect. And when that kind of energy is paired with physical presence, it becomes unforgettable. So if you're wondering how to make him miss you, not just your texts or your voice, but you, start with the anchor. Pick a gesture that feels authentic to you. Maybe it's a kiss on the cheek. Maybe it's a palm on his chest when you're cuddling. Maybe it's holding his hand in a specific way, or playfully dragging your fingers along the inside of his arm. Keep it natural, but keep it consistent, because what you're doing, whether you realize it or not, is creating a pattern. And humans are wired to find comfort in patterns. When you become that pattern, you become his comfort. You become the thing he longs to return to. And here's the kicker. You don't need to force it. The more organic it feels, the more powerful it becomes. Because real chemistry isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in those tiny moments that repeat themselves over time. The ones that don't scream for attention, but settle deep into the nervous system like a lullaby. So the next time you're with him and the moment is right, don't overthink it. Just touch him intentionally. Make that spot yours. And then do it again and again whenever the moment calls for it, because before long, that touch won't just remind him of you, it will be you. And that is how you make him miss your hands without even lifting a finger. The accidental touch, let it feel organic. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had that moment where someone brushed up against you in a way that felt completely unintentional, but for some reason it left you feeling electric? It wasn't overt, it wasn't planned, and it definitely wasn't some grand romantic gesture, but you felt it. Not just physically, emotionally. That, my friend, is the power of the accidental touch. And when used right, it's one of the most magnetic tools in your connection toolkit. Now, before you think I'm about to give you a lesson in flirting 101, this isn't about being sneaky or playing games. It's about tuning into the rhythm of natural connection and learning how to flow with it instead of forcing anything. Because here's the truth, men feel the difference between what's staged and what's organic. When something feels genuine, it sticks with them. When it feels like it's part of a checklist, it fades just as quickly as it came. The accidental touch works because it's the kind of thing that bypasses logic and hits straight at the senses. When your hand grazes his arm during a laugh, or your legs touch under the table and you don't pull away immediately, those are the moments that say more than words ever could. Why? Because it's unspoken intimacy. And the beautiful irony is, it's often the touch that wasn't planned that becomes the one he replays over and over in his mind. Here's where it gets really interesting. A guy can sit across from you and tell himself he's going to play it cool, stay in control, keep things light. But the moment your fingers brush his when you both reach for the same drink, or you lean in just a little closer than necessary when you're showing him something on your phone, that's when his internal walls start to soften. He might not admit it out loud. Hell, he might not even consciously realize it's happening, but his body does. His body starts to anticipate your presence. And that anticipation, that's where the addiction starts. Let's take it deeper. The accidental touch is powerful because it creates a sense of mystery. It makes him wonder, was that intentional? And because he doesn't know for sure, it keeps his brain spinning. That uncertainty is like emotional caffeine. It wakes him up and gets his attention. He starts noticing how close you're sitting, how often you lean in, how your knee is resting against his under the table, and why the hell it feels so damn good. It's a subtle game of tension building, and you're playing it without even saying a word. But here's the key. You've got to let it feel effortless. The second it feels rehearsed, the spell breaks. That means You're not trying to make every touch count. You're not following him around like a human static charge, looking for excuses to graze his arm. No, you're relaxed. You're in your zone. You're letting your natural movements and your comfort with him guide the connection. That's what makes it sexy. That's what makes it unforgettable. I want you to imagine this. You're walking beside him, laughing about something ridiculous, and without thinking, you lightly bump into him with your shoulder. You don't apologize, you just keep laughing and walking. That moment, it doesn't scream, "I want you," but it whispers something far more powerful. "I'm comfortable with you. I'm real with you." And that is what makes a man crave more, because the accidental touch communicates trust. It says you're not afraid of being physically close. It says you're not stiff or guarded or performing. You're just with him. And when a guy feels like you're with him in the moment, in your body, in your energy, not overthinking or overanalyzing, it puts him at ease in a way that it's incredibly rare. Most people live in their heads. When you're in your body and inviting him to be in his, it's intoxicating. Let's be honest. In a world where so many people are trying to impress or overcompensate, simply being natural is your superpower. The accidental touch is your secret weapon, not because it's flashy, but because it's human. And it's those human moments that men remember long after the date is over. Not the expensive dress, not the perfect hair, but the moment he felt your arm against his for a second too long and his heart skipped. So don't underestimate these tiny, unplanned interactions. They're often the most loaded with emotional chemistry, and they're the hardest for a man to forget. You're not just touching his skin. You're tapping into something primal, something his brain will associate with comfort, warmth, and yes, attraction. Let the moments happen. Let them be messy and spontaneous. Don't apologize for being close. Don't overcorrect when it happens. Smile, keep talking, keep laughing. Let the tension live in the space between "was that on purpose?" and "I hope it happens again." Because the moment you stop trying to impress and just let yourself be, your presence becomes the thing he can't stop thinking about. The "I know you" touch with emotional intent. There's something incredibly powerful about a touch that says more than 1,000 words ever could. Not a touch meant to seduce, not a touch meant to tease, but a touch that feels like home, that says, "I see you, I know you." That's the kind of physical connection that doesn't just light up a man's body, it sinks into his heart. This kind of touch is the difference between surface level chemistry and a deep emotional bond. It's when you place your hand on his chest in a quiet moment, not to initiate anything, not to escalate, but just to be close. When you touch his arm when he's sharing something vulnerable, not because you feel obligated, but because you genuinely want him to feel safe. It's in those little moments where your body language becomes a form of emotional fluency. And when you touch a man like that, you're not just making him feel good, you're making him feel understood. Men aren't used to being emotionally read in that way. Most of the time, they're either being flirted with or shut out. There's rarely a middle ground where a woman simply meets him where he is, fully present, emotionally aware, and physically open. But when you lean into that space, when your touch carries intention, warmth, and timing that aligns with how he's actually feeling, it hits different. He starts to crave that connection without even realizing it. He might not say it out loud, but in his mind, he's starting to tie your presence to a sense of emotional relief. He'll start to miss not just you, but the way your energy makes him feel grounded, seen, and enough. And here's the magic. When your touch is about him, not about what you want from him, it becomes irresistible. Because it's rare, it's disarming, it's real. This is the kind of touch that makes him obsessed with your presence long after you've gone. It's the way you squeeze his hand when he's talking about something important. It's the soft touch on his back when you walk past him in the kitchen. It's the light graze of your fingers when words would feel heavy. These are the touches that echo, the ones that replay in his mind when he's lying awake at night. Because in a world of transactional interactions, this kind of intimacy, It's unforgettable. You want to make a man feel like he can't get enough of you. Don't just focus on lighting up his body. Focus on calming his soul. Touch with care, touch with heart, touch like you know him. Because once he feels that, he won't be able to get you out of his system. The pull away technique, let him feel the absence. Here's a wild truth that people often don't want to admit. You don't miss what's always there. Let that sink in. Constant presence is lovely, but mystery, space, that's where craving is born. That's where obsession starts to brew. And one of the most powerful tools in your connection toolkit is knowing when to pull away. Not in a game-playing, manipulative way. No, I'm talking about the artful, confident, and self-respecting kind of space that reminds him that your presence is a gift, not a given. See, when you've been physically close to someone, whether that's through touch, intimacy, cuddling, or even just those stolen electric moments of eye contact, you've imprinted on them in a subtle, sensual way. Your energy has seeped into their nervous system. And now, pulling away just a little, not in coldness, but in quiet absence, gives those moments room to echo. Men, biologically and psychologically, respond to contrast. When he feels your affection, your touch, your warmth, and then you step back into your own world, your own power, your own rhythm, it creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, he starts to feel the loss, the absence, the craving. He begins to ask himself, where did that feeling go? And more importantly, how do I get it back? This doesn't mean ghosting him or ignoring him when he needs you. It means not overcompensating, not filling in every silence, not being the one who always reaches out first, checks in, or tries to fix the vibe when it feels off. Instead, you let there be space, because that space allows him to step forward, to feel the gap, and to remember what it's like when you're close. The truth is, distance used wisely creates desire, not because you're withholding affection, but because you're living your life with confidence and clarity. And you're letting him feel what it's like without your magic hands brushing against his arm, without your scent lingering on his hoodie, without your fingers casually playing with his when you're sitting beside him. It's subtle, but it's electric. And here's the kicker, when you re-enter that space, even with the lightest touch, even with a simple glance, it hits like lightning, because now he's felt the contrast, he's experienced the quiet, and he realizes he doesn't want more of the quiet, he wants you. He wants that connection again, that comfort, that electricity. So don't be afraid to lean out, to let your silence speak as powerfully as your presence. Because when you do it with grace and confidence, it's not rejection, it's invitation. An invitation for him to step up, step in, and miss the hell out of you. The signature move. Make your touch unforgettable. You ever have someone do something so specific, so subtle and so them, that it sticks in your mind like a song you didn't even realize you knew the lyrics to? That's what we're aiming for here. Your signature touch, something that leaves a physical and emotional imprint that's impossible to forget. It's not about trying to be someone you're not. It's about leaning into that one thing you do that makes him stop and think, wow, no one else touches me like that. Now here's the real secret. This isn't about being flashy or over the top. It's about being intentional. You don't need to invent some wild new move like you're auditioning for a romantic thriller. You just need to find one tiny thing, one way of connecting physically that's uniquely yours. Maybe it's the way you graze the back of his neck when you hug him. Maybe it's how your hand rests just slightly on his lower back when you walk beside him. Maybe it's the way you slide your fingers along his forearm slowly when you say goodbye. Simple but powerful. Why does this work? Because touch, when done with meaning, becomes a kind of language. It bypasses logic and hits emotion straight in the chest. It's non-verbal communication that says, "You're safe here," or "I see you," or even "I want you." That's 1,000,000 times more powerful than a text that says, "Miss you." Trust me, when your touch becomes something he associates with safety, desire, and warmth, it forms a kind of emotional muscle memory. Even when you're not there, he feels it. He remembers it. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Other people may try to get close to him physically, but if they don't bring that same emotional depth, that same nuance and care, it won't land the same way. You've set the bar. You've created a sensory experience that's tied directly to you. That's not easy to forget, but let me make this very clear. This isn't about manipulating someone or turning intimacy into a performance. It's about showing up fully in the moment, being present, being aware, and letting your affection carry intention. When your energy is aligned with your touch, it becomes electric, not because it's sexual, though sure, that can be part of it, but because it's authentic. It's not something you learn from a YouTube tutorial. It's something you do because it feels right with him. So take a breath, slow down, and start to notice what comes naturally to you. What's the move, the gesture, the little intimate moment you can own, not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. Own that, make it yours, because when you do, you'll become the woman he compares every future connection to. And nothing, not even time or distance, can erase a memory that deep. So, here's the thing, touch isn't just about the physical. It's about creating an experience that lingers long after you've walked away. It's about being unforgettable without having to shout for attention. When you touch him in a way that's full of intention, confidence, and warmth, you're not just giving affection, you're giving him a feeling. And people don't chase people, they chase feelings. Every time your hand brushes his skin, every moment you offer connection without saying a word, you're building something deeper than attraction. You're creating chemistry with roots. And when that's real, he doesn't just miss you, he aches for you. He thinks about you in those quiet moments. He compares you to anyone who tries to fill your space and finds them lacking. So if you want to make your mark, if you want to be the thought that lingers, the touch he replays in his mind, start with presence, start with intention. Find your way of reaching him and own it, because the power of your touch isn't in how bold it is. It's in how much of you is behind it. And hey, if this hit home for you, don't forget to like. Drop a comment below telling me what resonated most, and subscribe for more videos just like this. You deserve a love that feels electric, deep, and real. And I'm here to help you create exactly that.